Good afternoon. Thank you for attending the session. So some of you might have seen me before. I used to work at Eurostar, Virgin Trains, Avanti, West Coast. And I'm now working on different projects, rail company in Europe, Midnight Trains, Orient Express, and still bit working for Eurostar. So I'm very happy to be here today to introduce you to the relaunch, the rebirth of the Orient Express, and to talk about it on a commercial angle. So the first question I have for you is, who is attending the session and never heard about Orient Express before? Still some. But you see, out of a big room, we are talking about a travel brand that is 140 years old, so quite an old one, I would say, and almost everybody knows about the name Orient Express as a brand. So a bit of history first. George Nigel Mac, I don't know what you say, Nigel Makers, is a Belgian, and he traveled to the US and was absolutely astonished by the sleeper car of George Pullman in the US, and he decided, to offer him to launch the same trains in Europe. George Pullman refused, so that he decided then to build his own train company. And not only was like sleeper cars, but he decided that he would make them private. And that's how Orient Express launched. So at the time, it was called Société des Wagons-Lits. And when the first journey linked Paris to Constantinople at the time in 1983, that happened in 3-4 days. Which, well, if you think of it, like in 1883, it was quite of a technical challenge. There were no flight at that point, obviously, but there were no car neither. So crossing Europe in 3 days with a very nice hotel bedroom, moving and very fine dining was kind of a revolution. So the train ran for a century, except during the two World War, and it stopped in the 70s with, car being made more popular and flights started to be a bit more accessible in Europe. It stopped in the 70s. Obviously, a lot of people know about Orient Express as well because of cultural references, and I'm talking about the novel from Agatha Christie. So yeah, between you and me, there've never been any murder on the proper Orient Express. But yeah, people know about it because of the novel, because of the movie. Next year, Mission Impossible, Tom Cruise is going to be on the Orient Express. So it has a lot of, an iconic, it's quite an iconic brand. So what happened is that SNCF, so in France, they own the brand and they started to revitalize the brand a few years ago. And in 2018, so Accor Hotels, they became the main shareholder of the brand. And so Orient Express as a name is now, a brand that is owned by Accor. And their wish is actually that, they open a new hospitality chapter and that you can have hotel room moving on rail. So what's the product? There'll be actually 2 trains. The first train is a partnership with Arsenale, an Italian group, and the train is currently being refurbished in Italy. The train will only run in Italy on some iconic routes in Italy. And the other train is a full train owned by Accor. It was rediscovered in Eastern Europe, and it's currently being renovated in order to launch in 2025. And this one is going to run more on the, I would say, mythical routes from Paris to Istanbul. So Orient Express La Dolce Vita, so these are the interiors, so we're talking about upscale, or we can even say luxury, I think, at that stage. So these are the train inside. Double bed on every cabin, which is quite different from current other luxury trains. Bar, restaurant, and then those trains are going to launch in Italy on different routes. And I think the very unique selling proposition here is that we really want it to be a cruise and in a way like get off-board experience as well. Other luxury trains, sometimes, you just get on the train, be on the train for 30 hours, but you don't really escape your 3 square meter room. Here, like, for example, if you choose to travel between Rome to Venice or Portofino, like, you're gonna stop in Venice, you're gonna visit a very private palace in Venice, and you stop in a vineyard in the middle of Italy. And it's going to add to the experience as well, because if you think of especially international travelers, often when they travel in Europe, they just go in, the big cities, but they don't necessarily have time to go in those remote places. So the idea is like to make the things that are not really accessible for people that don't have a lot of time, to make them accessible. So the off-board experience is part of the trip, are really an important bit for the product. It's a small train, 30 cabins, so 60 passengers on board. So quite like a niche experience, I would say. The other train, so the Accor one, so the design was revealed last month in Paris. So the idea is really you see to get that kind of iconic historical feeling when you travel in the new Orient Express. As I say, you have your own shower, you have your own toilets, you have your own, washing basin, which is like normal in hospitality, but running in a train is not necessarily something that exists right now. So all of this is obviously being built with, very fine handcrafting maison in France, in order to make the legends go live back. And those trains are being restored, and they're going to run from 2025. This is the bar. I hope you want to travel now. So, not finished, sorry. But the competition, so yeah, as we mentioned, upscale, I think we can even say luxury or ultra luxury and iconic. So it's about hospitality. So these are the main hospitality competitors worldwide. But I can talk a bit about the world of luxury train as well, because they are our direct competitors. So I'm sure you are thinking about the one that is on the top right here, Venice Simplon Orient Express, which is not the Orient Express I'm mentioning today. So basically, the Venice Simplon Orient Express is owned by LVMH, and it's operating by Belmont brand. And basically, like, they only have the right to use the name Orient Express with Venice Simplon. And they run trains mainly in Europe, Paris to Venice, London to Venice, a bit in Eastern Europe. And I think if I look at the difference between those two products is that, as I was mentioning, you don't stop on the way. I mean, this cabin is very nice, but this is the presidential cabin, and most of Venice Simplon cabin are, like bunk bed cabin. So when you have a bunk bed, when there is no shower on board and the toilets are shared, when you pay £10,000, it starts to be a bit, like difficult it's the historical train, but still. And there are some markets that they can't reach because there are some nationalities they would never travel without being on a double bed or having an ensuite. I think Royal Scotsman is quite close as well to the Orient Express in the way that they offer off-board experience. So that's a train running in Scotland. But you can see that even in South America, South Africa, Australia, there are luxury trains running around the world, and there is appetite for it. So in terms of RM commercial strategy, I would say the first thing is talking about the target. So, I more have a RM background, so in order not to say that it's expensive, you say that you are targeted as sophisticated adventurer. But basically, like, everything is about celebration. People that travel on the train, they travel because, I don't know, they celebrate a wedding anniversary, they have a birthday, they celebrate the fact that they raised their first million, I don't know, but they celebrate. You have some groups, some company, like for their exec board, offer those experiences as well. But it's often more like romantic journey. It used to be a really mature market, but nowadays, like, there are as well on luxury train more people 35 to 50 years old as well, traveling and and enjoying it as an experience. So when we start everything from scratch, the good thing is if you think of it, there is no legacy system, there is no legacy team, there is nothing. You start from a blank sheet of paper. So you really need to think of what do I need to achieve, how I'm going to reach the revenue I want, starting with nothing. So I think it was really important to define what we wanted out of that pricing range. And the first thing, obviously, is that as the trains are going to run, they're going to start running in 2 years' time. Well, you don't know yet what you don't know, so you really need to be able to, technically in the setup, in the system, to be able to adapt quickly. If your pricing range, if you need to add a cheaper price point or more expensive price point, you need to be able to do that quite quickly in order to adapt to what you don't know yet, in a way. Enabler in a way that it's a substantive amount that people have to pay. So you need as well to create a commercial strategy, terms and conditions, deposit, upgrade strategy, and even additional off-board experience that would allow people to, either pay more for additional experience, or at the same time being able to afford it with, different payment condition. And easy to read because we are talking about a 30 cabin inventory. So it's like very small hotel. So at the moment, we are at a stage that we want the pricing range to be easily understandable by not only our customer, but as well our staff and our partners, because a lot of these sales are done through indirect through trades. So the challenges is compared to rail, passenger rail. Obviously, the inventory is a room, and you're not going to put two strangers next to one another in the same room. So you need to create solo occupancy, double occupancy, triple occupancy for the suite, and different ways to optimize the unit, which is the cabin. Another challenge is it's obviously a very long decision process. People are not just buying it like this. So we are from next week in Barcelona, we're going to get 5 staff, fully trained staff, kind of concierge contact center, because a lot of people are not buying these tickets online. And for the amount they pay, they really need to understand what's going to happen, what will they have, everything about what's going to happen, in terms of experience, but as well the product itself. Timetable is not yet known. The first trains are going to run in 2 years' time. The train is not even built. It's in the process of being built. But then what we decided is that, because we can't offer a proper product, dates, and we still want to start to acquire leads, we decided to launch next week with some pre-sales. So the principle of it is that for 500 euro, you're going to be able to kind of buy the right to be called back before the timetable open. And basically, because we don't know yet when the timetable is going to open, if that open in 6 months or 9 months, it still allows us to acquire the leads, to explain via the contact center as much as possible the product, what they're going to get, so that the moment the timetable open, you already have some passengers that are just, ready to choose the dates they want to travel on. Which is linked to point number 5. I'll come back to 4 in a minute, but because there is another brand called Orient Express, Venise Simplon, I guess in the room, no one knew the difference between the two companies. So if you want to celebrate and you type Orient Express on Google, it's going to be who get the best SEO at some point. So starting to get those pre-sales as well and selling the product and explaining the key differences is important. And finally, reselling a cabin. You can't do O&D like someone getting off in Vienna and someone getting in the same bedroom. You have issues with cleaning, so can you resell the room? That's a tricky bit. Distribution strategy, quickly. So the website, obviously, but most of the sales in this business are done offline. 60% is coming from the trades, like tour operator, tour agency, and being part of the Accor network is actually it's actually great because they have salespeople all around the world, and we can get those leads from everywhere around the world.
The
And let
adventurer
me take
lives on
you
us
through
all.
Italy.
A thirst to explore, to live life richly, to taste and discover lands abundant. Italy, a world of possibilities, where endless landscapes whisper history's secrets through the vast imagination of art, culture, cuisine. Here, a new adventure awaits. In 2023, through 12 iconic itineraries, the new Orient Express La Dolce Vita train will traverse this magnificent country in an experience where the journey itself is the destination. Echoing the sweet life of 1960s and 70s Italy, passengers enter a world of style and luxury. Fine wines and foods spanning Italy's territories, served in cutting-edge hospitality. The Made in Italy way. Across historic railroads, carriages furnished in the elegance of Italian design will entertain an easy pace. Through Italy's hidden treasures, its places less traveled, its most exclusive locations. Furthermore, 3 international ventures will cross the gateway between West and East, in homage to the golden age of the Orient Express. As Rome connects to Paris, to Istanbul, to Split, and so, through the grandeur of alpine mountains, the charm of coastal towns, through rolling countryside, ancient architecture, and the cities of the future, the adventurer shall explore, shall taste and discover the Made in Italy life aboard the Orient Express, La Dolce Vita.
And that's it.
Before you take that off, while the next speaker comes up, quick question. What's the rack rate on this? He says £500 to have the chance to buy a ticket.
So, can you hear me? Yeah.
Sure, everyone's wondering this.
So the rates are going to start from €2,000 per night per person. So it means that often it's at least a two nights journey, and a 2 nights journey for 2 people would be from €8,000 from.
So start saving 2023. Excellent.
Voila.
Thank you very much.